Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Notes from the Pastor Cave. There are a couple of times, this is usually a lonely place down here in the Pastor Cave, but there are a couple of times that the Pastor Cave becomes a popular place, and that is this particular kitty who's smarter than he looks. We're having kind of a heat wave right now, and because the Pastor Cave is cavey, it's cooler down here during the day. And so, come on, turn your head so everybody can see you. There you go. And so, with this, he's actually been sleeping in my office chair all day. I had to get a few hairballs off before I could sit down. But that's it. And I just knew that someday I'd be able to make this guy famous across the world. And this is Boaz, by the way, is his name. And I'm going to let him go because he's just about ready to freak out. So I got to put him down here. And last time we were together, we kind of forayed slightly into the 20th chapter of Exodus. And the 20th chapter of Exodus is famous because it is the first time in which we see the Ten Commandments, which become the cornerstone law of the Israelites, and eventually the cornerstone law of anybody who would be a follower after God. And so there's just a couple things that I want to I'm not going to go over commandment by commandment, because that might get a little long. But there's a couple of things that I have made notes of during the years, and that's supposed to be the name of the show. And so I've always thought this was a really interesting the commandments are interesting as they begin. At first they just seem like rules, but then as you see them play out in a culture, a society, or even a smaller group of people like a family, you begin to see the wisdom and the value of them, and how their overall approach to life really is God-given. So I've always thought that this one here, honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. And that can really, I think maybe of all the commandments, that's the one that can kind of rub us the wrong way, and we can begin to see loopholes immediately, because we're all kind of mini law scholars in our own lives, and so we look at that for our own lives, okay. First of all, let me just say this: 30 plus years of pastoring, I have seen terrible examples of parenting. 30 plus years of ministry, I've seen despicable examples of parenting. In 30 plus years of pastoring, I have seen wickedness in parenting, and I'm not even going to begin to go into some of the things that I know and some of the things that have been told me in confidence over the years. Okay. And let me just make this clear from the beginning. There is absolutely no biblical evidence whatsoever that God would have us honor despicable and evil people. Okay, so and I know that there are people that just seethe against the Old Testament. They seethe against the Bible. They seethe against the idea of serving God, because they had parents that did wicked things, and really things that are unspeakable, that really shouldn't ever be talked about outside of the counseling room. So we need to really qualify that when we say, when it says here, honor your father and mother. This is based upon a culture it's based upon a group of people that God is trying to make into godly people. Okay, so God is assuming certain things when He says that you should not commit adultery. Okay, He is assuming that the natural weight of that society would be against committing adultery. That adultery would be a rare thing rather than a prevalent thing. Okay, doesn't if it was a prevalent thing, it doesn't change anything. It's still what God is saying needs to be done. But the law that God is laying down here is the ideal. He is saying, okay, this is where we want to go, and this is who we want to be. So honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. Many times I've heard people say, well, this is like a guarantee of a long life for the individual. This is not spoken to the individual. Okay, this is spoken to the nation. So what God is saying is that if you as a nation, when you get to the promised land, when you get to the place where you are going to establish the nation of Israel in a geographic region, if you want to be there for a really, really long time, honor your father and mother. Okay? Honor this idea or this institution of eldership. Okay? That my parents would know something that I don't know simply because of the years that they have spent on the planet. And we find as we get older, we find that really tends to be true. It's not always true, but it certainly tends to be true. I was just talking about my father the other day, and I was saying that it was actually when I was giving my Father's Day message. I was saying that my father's wisdom, I put it into use. He's been gone over 20 years now. I put my father's wisdom into use now more than I did 20, 30 years ago, even though I knew my father was a wise man and he was a good man. As time has gone by, I've actually incorporated more of him into me and into my life. Okay, and we can really see the proof of how important this is by looking at the opposite. Okay, and I realize I've got an international audience here. Okay, but in America, we have shed this idea. We've thrown away this idea of the respectability of parents, of honoring fathers and mothers. And we have essentially said, we had one really big time in the 1960s where we said, hey, anybody over 30 is stupid. They don't know what they're talking about. And then we realized how dumb that was, and we kind of got away from it for a while. And now we are back there again. We have become a culture that are serving the ideals, the badly placed ideals of youth. And we are not listening to those who are older and are wiser. And we are also disrespecting the idea of the family. This is when you honor your father and mother, then you're saying that you're going to honor your family, and you're going to honor the structure of the family. Again, I know that many people have had disrespectable parenting, and have had just lousy parenting, and in a lot of cases have had just basically not parenting, parents that were just not there. Okay, God's not saying for you to put a stamp of approval on that, but what He's saying is that if you are one of those people that's had lousy parents, then put stock at least into the concept of, or the framework of, parenting. Because no society that we have studied, even if it's even looking at tribal groups of people, no tribal group of people lasts very long if the elders, the wise people, are disrespected and are thrown under the bus. Okay, it just doesn't happen. We see it historically, and we can see it looking at it right now. Just looking at people groups across the world. All right, no people group that listens to the wisdom of youth lasts for very long, because youth doesn't have a lot of wisdom. Okay, so it's just really interesting to know that of all the rules here, this is the one that kind of has a tendency to come under some dispute, because everybody can think of the example of some parent that has just been a lousy parent, and you're reading this and going, you mean God would have me honor that jerk? And no. It's in the ideal framework of what we're talking about. It's the vision. Really, what we're talking about here really is vision. God's vision for the Israelites. And God's vision for the Israelites would be a God-led society, no king, okay, a society in which God is the leader, and that the elders would be the ones who would seek to hear from God and to institute that wisdom and that learning into the Jewish culture. And so, I would say, dream along with God. Dream along with God. If you're confused about what goes on in your world politically, whatever country that you're living in, think about this. Apply this ideal that God is giving the Israeli people. Think about that, and then compare it to your own culture and say, okay, where are we in that? And I wonder if God's way of doing things might just be better than the direction that we are heading in. Right? That's it for today. We're going to spend a little more time on the Ten Commandments in the weeks ahead. But for today, Vita brevis gloria aeterna. Life is short. Glory is eternal. Have a wonderful day.